with your name on it, and then there's a number, and then...
Don't rub it in. Who am I? Oh, I'm sandwiched in between Chuck Dukowski and Joe Carducci.
That's not bad company.
SST.
Yeah, we put you in the South Bay section.
All of the good SST guys. You know, I had a problem with Chuck Dukowski because Black Flag was fun until he showed up, and then it became a job.
Uh-oh.
This one is called Electric Fried Wiener. Yeah, we owned it. We had our own little We Got Power parking lot, a 2 or 4 car van, pickup truck size section of a small parking lot somewhere in San Pedro. It was the same story at any venue allowing something that resembled punk rock musical stylings. Godzilla's out in the boonies of the San Fernando Valley, the Starwood in beautiful downtown West Hollywood, the Olympic Auditorium in the heart of Los Angeles, EMOS. The Dancing, not Danzig, Waters Club in San Pedro only had a loose group of security guys patrolling the premises, which made things easy for our drinking, smoking, and carrying on outside the club like the carefree goofballs and goofballettes that we were. Our clique could be made up of miscellaneous members from a small army of bands, including Bad Religion, Sin 34, Wasted Youth, Red Cross, TSOL, Circle Jerks, Adolescents, Minutemen, and lots of other pals and beer-guzzling Klingons. Our hangout scenario would always consist of us gathering these types of places and loafing about with all the fun conversations as to who went to this show or that show, or who heard the new so-and-so record, or who was sleeping with who, and all that other fun gossip and hardcore soap opera bullshit. Everybody had some dirt to spill. The crew from We Got Power, fanzine, Dave Markey, Jordan Schwartz, Jordan's sister, Jennifer, and Phil Newman would show up with their cameras to take photos for the rag. Of course, they'd be accompanied by a couple of other nitwits and would end up being the happy hosts, hostesses, and royal party meisters. They were just a bunch of wise-ass post-teenagers. On this particular occasion, in this particular parking lot, we happened to be celebrating a Circle Jerks Bad Religion gig. I remember watching Jordan take about a 4-minute hike across the lot to the mini mart. He returned with a bag filled with liquid headache or hangover in a can. He had the craziest, happiest face beaming. His stitch looked as plumb perfect as if he possessed a winning lotto ticket. My favorite part of that day started with an extremely loud, blood-curdling scream. The cry ripped through the air, and all of us looked at each other with puzzled looks on our faces. As it turned out, an inebriated character had decided to piss against the wall next to the mini market at the back of the parking lot. As it turned out, the store had an electrical pipe that ran the entire length of the building where the wall and the asphalt met. An unfriendly addition meant to discourage drunks, winos, and any smart alecks from whizzing on their property. When the paths crossed, an electrical current ran up the urine flow into the penis. And electric fried wiener.
Thank you, Keith.
Dave, you want to go next? And tell us your horoscope sign, your age, and
Favorite color.
yeah, your favorite color. And
Turn-ons, turn-offs.
I remember you asking me a question in an interview for your magazine. If you were trapped in an elevator, what farm animal would you want to be trapped in the elevator with?
What was your answer?
Arnold Ziffel from 3 Acres.
Well, thank you very much, Keith. Thanks for having us here. I'm going to read a little bit from this book. And something we haven't brought up, the subject about Daryl Gates and the L.A.P D at the time. And everything you've ever heard about it is probably pretty true. So Naturally, there was a dark side of the LA punk scene. It came with the territory. There was always a fair amount of jocks and thugs at punk shows, and there was the violence. But usually it was confined to those who were looking for it, and the gang mentality types. Anyone blindly following the leaders seemed diametrically opposed to the true nature of punk, to me. Think for yourself. See, I can detect the difference, and I know the hypocrisy. I realized much of the crowd was not like me, and that's part of what sort of killed it for me. Soon the scene was filled with followers, wannabe gangsters, and actual gang members. They weren't bringing anything to it but pose and senseless violence. And as these assholes proliferated, the smart people pulled away. Besides these thugs, the LA punk scene had another problem plaguing its existence. Long before the Rodney King video was seen around the world, I saw the dark side of the L.A.P D. I witnessed several of these now infamous, quote, punk rock riots firsthand. It seems odd that the L.A.P.D. were threatened by primarily young white boys. The only retaliation I ever witnessed was a hurl a beer bottle or two. Furthermore, there was never enough punks rioting. Far too often the LAPD had all the fun, with their batons swinging, macing, tear gassing kids. Just being there was reason enough for them to stomp you. When the helmet-wearing men in blue showed up with their big plastic shields, you knew there was going to be a riot, which meant, in short, show's over. These altercations were basically all the same. The cops would arrive en masse and take a position across the street or outside or inside the venue. They dressed in helmets, shields, and wielding batons, armed with tear gas, mace, ready for the dispensing, standing shoulder to shoulder in a line. They moved in formation without provocation, striking people randomly. It was not a fair fight. The punks were not armed or prepared with gas masks. Many of the punks were younger than driving age, or female. Clearly no match for these football player-sized cops. The LAPD had it in for the punk scene in Los Angeles since the late 70s. These punks were primarily middle-class white kids, and not typically a menace any under other circumstances. The media loved a good teenage riot and really played up these events in print and during live newscasts. This only brought out more squad cars to the next big punk show. There was a series of LAPD altercations starting from the Elks Lodge riot in '79 to the Black Flag riots of the Whiskey a Go-Go in 1980 and Bases Hall right around the same time. These riots happened with such regularity that a gig did not seem complete unless the cops showed up and shut it down. It became a running joke. My band at the time, Sin 34, played a show June 24th, 1983, the Longshoremen's Hall in Wilmington with the Minutemen, DOA, Youth Brigade, and Dead Kennedys headlining. The political subtext which Jello Biafra espoused brought forth the largest contingent of combat-ready LAPD I had seen to date. Most of the show went off without occurrence until after we finished our set. Slowly but surely, the riot squad started to arrive. Ironically, the flyer for this show featured an image of a giant Ronald Reagan running a lawnmower over the tops of people's heads in a crowd. We watched as the riot-geared cops gathered by the truckload. There had to be at least a couple hundred deployed especially for this show. It became apparent that the crowd was a bunch of sitting ducks. I locked up all of our equipment in Mike's van and secured myself near a rear exit with a window so I could see if anyone was waiting outside. There was only one small front entrance, and there was no way for the massive crowd
to exit in any sort of orderly fashion, as they had been instructed to do. I watched as the line of police swooped in on the crowd, swinging their batons as they goose-stepped in formation. This was an organized attack. You'd have to wonder where these orders were coming from. It was as if a war had been declared and we were the enemy. First generation LA punk great Black Randy said it best, in trouble with the cup. There's a war on the boulevard and we're the enemy. Black and white cars are watching me. Fucking pigs travel in pairs. Beat on my friends. No one cares. In the years since, I was not surprised to see the image of the L.A.P D become tarnished with scandals such as Rampart and Rodney King. In the end, I was lucky enough to avoid any direct contact or injuries. As out of control the police would usually get, there usually was always a way out, or at least I was on the ball enough to find a path of least resistance. However, what I saw on my way out was disturbing. I wish I had my camera with me during these melees, but then again, I saw people who were attempting to document this get special attention. Either their cameras would be confiscated outright, or the film would be ripped out of the camera and thrown on the ground, often along with the photographer. I witnessed LAPD cops ganging up and beating the shit out of a non-punk photographer on assignment from the LA Times at Mandiola's Ballroom. You would have thought something would have appeared in the paper the following day about this occurrence. Instead, the news copy reflected negatively on the crowd with the headline reading, 12 arrested at punk rock fracas. No mention of the photographer being beaten by the cops. No mention of the innocent, unarmed teenage kids being maced and assaulted. This was a harsh lesson in Reagan-era policies and a preview of what was to come. Witness the SAR studios right in Hollywood. A defenseless 15-year-old girl, face down on the pavement, was continually beaten over the back of her head by 3 or 4 cops, towering in a circle over her. I was able to watch in disbelief, somehow without getting hit myself. Witness a line of 50 LAPD riot gear taking over the front of the stage at Bard's Apollo. The crowd slowly moved back across the old theater and spontaneously singing in perfect unison, key and pitch. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain. It was some great theater. Punks were great with irony. By the time the heartwarming ballad to our fatherland finished, the crowd was met by another column of helmeted and shielded riot squad cops, this time closing in from the back. Thankfully, I escaped through a side door, at which point I spotted a cop smashing a storefront window to the neighboring businesses with his baton. This was standard, as many of these riots, the police anticipated the arrival of the media, smashing windows to make it look like it was a good punk rock riot. The neighborhoods surrounding these venues would virtually be shut down. Streets were closed off and barricades sprung up from nowhere. If your car happened to be parked on the wrong street, you better not take it up with any of these cops. Otherwise, it'd be a sure ticket to jail or a baton across the side of your head. I was so accustomed to the police after years of being on the scene, it became just another part of the evening's entertainment. The cops fucked up a lot of shows, like the Ramones' Black Flag and the Movement at the Hollywood Palladium in '84. Nothing like mace burning your eyes to help you see the light. And if you could open your eyes, you'd see paddy wagons filled with Mohawk punkers driving off to the pokey. You would hastily make do, jumping into strangers' cars, returning safely to the parking lot of Okie Dog. There we would bond with our fellow punks after surviving yet another, quote, punk rock riot. The hassles were unrelenting. Even after the cops closed the show down, the West Hollywood sheriff's deputies would converge on Okie Dogs, where they knew after-show crowds would gather. They would assemble across the street or in the parking lot in the alley out back. Sometimes upwards of 400 punks would be hanging out. The sheriffs would forcefully evict the paying customers from the premises, punks and all. After a while, the punks figured out that this would be par for the course and took to meeting in the city park around the corner. The sheriffs figured this one out soon enough. Punks were also known to trespass on Errol Flynn's long abandoned estate at the end of Fuller Avenue up in the Hollywood Hills. This property is now known as Runyon Canyon Park and is quite popular with dog owners and hiking enthusiasts. Sometimes up at Errol Flynn's around 1 or 2 in the morning, there'd be 1,000 punks running wild. I recall one raid by the L.A.P D up there. It was a lot of fun because it was a massive space with plenty of places to hide and outrun the cops and their German shepherds. Years later, punk would come back and there would be nothing the cops could do about it. They couldn't shut down these punk shows. This time it was sold safely through the malls and major retailers. And the shows began happening in big city arenas, sports centers, with tax dollars being generated to paying cops' salaries. In contrast to the early days, punk was now the mainstream. Of course, now it's safe as milk. I think I'm going to hand the mic over to Hudley Flipside. We Got Power Fancy was heavily influenced by Flipside. It would not have existed without Flipside.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, what he was talking about was so real back then. It's kind of hard that we survived all that. But it's definitely, the punk scene has changed so much, and it's just quite not the same. You know, you go to a festival and it seems that the guys protecting the bands from the fans and the fans from the bands, and they're kind of cool now. You know, the guys in between, you know, I'm talking about the bouncers and the police. It's different now. Okay, I'm going to start. It's a different theme. This is more personal. It's from my memoirs. It was bound to happen with so much media coverage of punk fashion time, Newsweek, News West, etc. While the punk fashion show was held at the Palladium, you all know the story. That was from Flipside issue 40, 1977. Press run was 325 cents. Devo, Blondie, and my favorite, the Avengers, played this gig. 1976 to 1979. Those years flashed by me. It was during this time, during my metamorphosis into becoming a punk, I remember a couple of times I met terror. First time was at the punk fashion show. The scene was a scary scene to approach. And seeing Jane Drano, also, you know, Ego goes, helped me blend a bit. She was a comrade. We both went to middle school and high school together in the San Fernando Valley. So when I saw her there, it made me feel a little bit welcome. Then again, I saw her earlier at the Ryan's coffee shop. It was an old coffee shop in the San Fernando Valley. And a lot of punks would go there. And one night I saw Jane running in there, and Terry was with her. But just like at the punk rock show, when she was really friendly with me, he reached in and grabbed her away. He wasn't too keen to me being friends with her. Terry was scary when he was hardcore before the term became cliche. And there were social landmines set up in the early scene. One had to confront them or leave them. I was lucky to enter the back door as a journalist. I can still hear the popular underground punk anthem by the Circle Jerks. They were screaming, "Wild in the streets!" And all of us punks were blending, "Wild in the streets!" There are many stories from the big punk rock. Mine is just one of them. Now, Los Angeles Flipside fanzine published issues for 2 decades. The first issue was August 29th, 1977, and sold for 25 cents. I met L.A.P Flipside when I was hanging out with the Orange County band, The Middle Class. I was trained as a graphic artist and at West Valley Occupational School in the San Fernando Valley. My tools for the trade was rubber cement and an X-Acto knife. When I met the L.A. Flipside fanzine crew at the Whiskey A Go-Go, L.A. Flipside told me he needed a basement artist for his music fanzine. That all it took for an interview and a resume into the underworld of punk rock journalism. I soon became a staff person. You guys remember anything about the licorice pizza across from the Whiskey A Go-Go? Yeah. Well, that's where Al and I would hang out a lot and look at records. And then the parking lot below was where we drink cheap beer. We were
Yay.
drinking beer. Well, that's when we romanced and fell in love. And I remember the Buzzcocks song, Ever Fallen in Love, was playing at Licorice Pizza down to the parking lot. Well, we fell in love. We got married in December 1977. And then I became a full-time staff person. The best part of our work together was issue 54, which came out in 1986. It covered 1977 to 1986. It's a really amazing little book. We put a lot of time and effort into that, along with everything else, and I'm really proud of it. Because it documented the original punk scene until 1986, when things started to change. But they were always changing. The Seminary of Praying Mantis is my punk lullaby. It's journals 1, 2, 3, and my final issue is number 4. That's just come out. It's a continuing narrative about my experience as a punk while publishing a fanzine. The journals are taken from a full manuscript that I wrote in 2004, but it took me a long time having kids, going to school, and other things. Flipside fanzine grew up with the original punk scene. We covered what we wanted to. It was all about the bands, the fans, promoters, buyers, the U.S. mail, and scratch vinyl. Remember the vinyl? We had a tight symbiotic relationship with the underground. Our call was to be more than a witness. Today I'll read from each journal, so it's about 15 minutes, maybe a little less. Journal 1. At 17, my older brother Gus turned me on to the film A Clockwork Orange. I fell in love with the main character, a druid named Alex. I merged with his identity. I soon found the punk rock scene. I also listened to Rodney Bingham, and who talked about the infamous underground club, The Mask. And that's where I didn't really attend the original Mask. I went to the second Mask, but not the original. But I knew about it, and I was young, so I didn't have a way to get out there. But it was through my brother Gus who would take me out to the scene, because he was involved with the original Germs. So that's how he got his connection. So I started listening to the Sex Pistols, the Saints from Australia, and Channel 69. They were 3 of my favorites that brought me into the scene. And I like to read the letter. The letter sections from Flipsides were interesting because they would continue from issue to issue, and people would correspond with each other. And it was fascinating, I thought. I typed them up. And this is a letter from Flipside issue 30. Dear Flipside, some people get this idea that punk scene isn't cool anymore. people get out of the scene and all that stuff. Well, the old saying, life is what you make it, stands true. Some complaint it was the whole punk thing. It's dying out. Clubs close, bands break up, kids let their hair grow. Some people get pissed at the load of newer people at each gig. Some get tired of everything. But some people are never satisfied. Trends come and go. People let them. It's up to people like us to remind them. It's up to people like us to remind those folk who are slacking off. Punk is most definitely not dead or dying. For every one person who gets out of punk, two more get into it. Clubs close, but more open, always. The recorded material of most bands this day is fucking great. Flipside had done a great job, a terrific job, for a long time, but there are others too. And a monthly photo collection called For Yours is handed out free once a month. Lowest common denominator. Another newer fanzine has lots of original stuff. And us, the staff of We Got Power Man, we have just put out our second issue. And that was from Dave, Alan, Jordan, and everyone. I thought that was a nice thing. You remember writing that? You guys.
I guess I did.
Journal 2. We had lots of drunken parties at the Flipside house that we videotaped. They were lots of fun. We had Mike Ness from Social Distortion and others over. Most nights we were out at clubs until wee hours. We got a nasty habit of going to Tommy Burgers. They were yummy after a hard day's night of bands and the scene. But after too much drinking, Al would sometimes have to wash the car out with the hose the next morning. It was the worst sight ever. The grease of the Tommy Burger stands out the next day after his bark all over a VW square back. I wonder what the neighbors thought, but you know, I eventually became a vegetarian for maybe about 10 years. Journal 3. We were always advancing our printing technologies here. Here the big deal was getting a new Smith Corona Script 10 typewriter with a font selective element block. Do you remember? Yeah. I typed so much my fingers felt like they were going to fall off. Also, it was about this time I started as a DJ for KFJC, University of San Jose. A Flipside correspondent who studied at the university asked Al if he wanted to do it. He said no, so I was doing the job. The beginning of it started in 1984, and I DJ'd for only a year, but that was enough. I played music and interviewed band members that were in town or just stopped by. Al set up a funky cassette recorder with an equalizer and microphone for me. I did everything in-house. That was Flipside then. Everything was improvised quickly and somehow it all worked. That's the thing. Currently on my blog, The Symphony of Praying Mantis, you can go on to hudleyflipside.com and you can listen to all 13 tapes for free, which is kind of nice. I call it 1984, fresh from the punk rock bakery. Journal 4. Now Flipside was very productive. We were selling and promoting records and tapes and had a very large mail order business. That was my specialty. We sold 10 Flipside videos of live bands and A Hard Day's Night, A Hard Dark's Night, all about the Orange County band Doggy Style. At that time, place in history, Flipside put out 9 records. I don't know how we did all this. It just was constantly moving. I wanted to publish books too. We had an artist we worked with, a cartoon artist named Gavin Dooley, John Crawford. I wanted to put out his book, but I didn't go through the project. And I'd like to read a quote from issue 46, June 1985. It's Mike Watt. And I quote, "Yeah, I hope people think about it. That's why we're saying what we're saying. But it's weird about words. I wrote the song one chapter in the book, and it was about Saccharine Trust. Some guy thought it was about Central America. It's weird how words can mean different things to different people. But that's also the magic of it too. Things can get loose enough that nobody really knows, but they get something out of it, a feeling that transcends any strict definition. We set up those huge contradictions that we have to fight out on the battlefield. It's a problem, but I think it's an inherent one. Songs can get you over that lyrical obstacle in a little ways, but not totally, because I wouldn't want to hear any racist songs on the radio, so I don't believe in free speech all the way. Close quote. And this is my final story. One of my favorite memories is when three Flipside bands, Detox, Anti-Scrutiny Faction, ASF, Anti-Scrutiny Faction, ASF, and Doggy Style, came by the house one summer. I wish I had taken pictures that day. It was crazy, and trying to keep up with three bands and all the demanding personalities was extremely extreme. Detox had roots deep in the punk scene. Human was once bass player for the Vandals. ASF was a gay girl band with a male drummer from Colorado. And Doggy Style was from infamous Fullerton suburbia, where old friend Social Distortions came from. Having Doggy Style and ASF in the same room was like oil and water. I think Doggy Style frequently caught ASF pocket lunch in the alley near a local show. Overall, Doggy Style was a very obnoxious band to deal with. There were a bunch of fun idiots and talented suburban adolescents who liked to do it Doggy Style. My four Punkle Love journals are a funky addition to read alongside the big punk rock books out there. And I'll be selling my journals 1 through 4 today. And my last journal has an interesting index at the end. It includes issue 16 to 57, and it has a little bit about each issue, you know, where the punk hangouts were at that time, what bands were in the issue, what was going on, little special things. You know, it's pretty neat. So that's my talk for today, and thank you for listening. Is he next?
Thank you, Hudley. There's still tacos.
Thank you, Keith.
Everybody enjoying themselves this afternoon? I'm going to read a couple of stories out of my book. We're here promoting everybody else's books, and Terry's book is available at the counter.
What's the title?
I'm working out because I got to get some tattoos and be like Henry Rollins.
Too late, bro.
I got to catch up to him. This one, Hudley actually shouted this out a couple of times. We were accused of this song being I guess a semi-hit on K-Rock, which afforded us a bit of limelight. There was a time when the radio station was actually listenable. And this chapter is called Wild in the Streets. The Circle Jerks were an unusual band in that we didn't have a leader. After my experience with Black Flag, I wasn't interested in going on another ego trip, nor did I want to be the guy doing the ego tripping. It was a one for all and all for one kind of deal. No one had any more say than anyone else in the band. A punk rock democracy without an executive branch. But that didn't mean we didn't have our share of drama. All bands have guys who are go-getters and guys who are the opposite of that. Lucky was our go-getter, even though he was the only one who'd never been in a band before joining the Circle Jerks. He was a highly motivated individual who had plans to enroll in law school. He was the only one who had any kind of vision beyond what we were doing. As for the opposite, that would be Roger. There was always some kind of outside drama with him. Why are you late to rehearsal? Why do you have 3 strings on your bass guitar when you're supposed to have 4? What do you mean your car ran out of gas again? At this point in time, we were all going as fast as we could, running hard and partying hard. Our mentality was to go for it, whatever it might be. Like dropping in on a wave or hitting the half pipe on a skateboard. Maybe something amazing will happen. Maybe you'll splatter all over the place. You won't find out sitting on the sidelines, and no one can say you didn't try. So go for it. Do some damage. This mentality put me in a non-leadership role. We were all along for the ride together, and we were all equally committed to taking it as far as we could. In our own half-assed way, we started writing material for a new album, hacking away here and there. We didn't have a plan for what it would sound like or how it would be different from group sex. There was no thought process, no artistic vision beyond, let's make a record. We didn't sit around and say, this record's going to be darker, or this record's going to be poppier, or this record's going to have horns, and a synth player, and a string section. There was none of that. Let's just write the songs and then we'll take it from there. We were approached by John Ganeri, who was the A&R guy for Faulty Products, which was a division of IRS Records. How we heard about us is a pretty convoluted story. After the decline of Western civilization came out, we hired Gary Hurst to manage us. Gary was a sound guy in Hollywood who worked with bands like X, The Plugs, and The Flesh Eaters in places like the Starwood and The Mask. He did the sound for many of the Decline shows and recorded the soundtrack for the movie. He's listed as a co-producer on the soundtrack. In fact, he has a brief cameo. He's in the scene where he meets with all of the security guys explaining the difference between acceptable violence and unacceptable violence. The bouncers would see all of these punk rockers rolling around what looked like a massive gang fight and feel like they needed to step in and punch somebody's lights out. Gary was the one who gave them a crash course on punk rock behavior. Of course, you still had a few overzealous types, guys with daddy issues and got kicked off the football team or flunked out of the police academy or needed to take their frustrations out on somebody. Gary had developed a relationship with David Anderley at A&M Records, and Gary invited David to come and see us play at the Starwood. It was pretty wild, no holds barred show. After David pulled me aside and said, I need to record you before you kill yourself. I think he intended that as a compliment. He compared me to Jim Morrison, which is something these record company executives like to do, to make you feel like you're special. I don't know why he picked Jim Morrison. Maybe he could see that I was on the same destructive path as the Lizard King, or maybe I was channeling Iggy Pop, who I loved and was most certainly influenced by Mr. Morrison. I don't think David thought we were A&M material, so we probably went to IRS, whose releases were distributed by A&M, and IRS hooked us up with Faulty Products, which was kind of like their farm league, if that. Nevertheless, it seemed like a good fit for us. The Circle Jerks were picking up some steam, and although it didn't make sense for us to be in a major label, there were things that A&M and IRS could do for us. At least that's what we hoped for at the time. But we caught a lot of flack through the punk rock grapevine for selling out. It's not like we had this huge payday and we're suddenly buying houses and filling our garages with new cars. Far from it. I think people were expecting a slick, overproduced record, which ended up not being the case. While we were getting ready to go into the studio, Faulty Product hooked us up with a rehearsal space on the old SIR lot on Sunset Boulevard. We were in one of the smaller rooms, and there weren't any other bands in the space. After several weeks of working our asses off and rehearsing every day for 5 hours, the studio manager came in and said, "Pack up your stuff. You have to leave. We can't have you in here anymore." What had happened was the night before, one of the people at SIR, either Jan or Dean from Jan and Dean, got drunk, let himself into one of the rooms that had a grand piano in it, and just started bashing away, detuning and damaging the piano in the process. The people at SIR figured it had to be the punk rock guys, because that's what punk rockers do. Of course, we had nothing to do with it. We knew better than to mess around with equipment that didn't belong to us. We were grateful to be able to rehearse in a place where we could actually hear what we were doing, but we were guilty by reputation. David Anderley's role, David Anderley, R.I.P., his role in the situation was to get us recording time at A&M Studios. We were in a room that was the size of a 16-car garage, and that was one of the smaller rooms. David was involved in the production of the record, but he didn't turn any of the knobs and didn't offer up any suggestions or recommendations. He didn't bring anything creative to the table. He just nodded his head a lot. Our manager, Gary Hurst, just did the recording. He was the guy who sat at the board. We basically recorded Wild in the Streets live. Gary had never worked on a record before. He was a live sound engineer. His approach to recording an album was to treat it like a gig. Load in, set up, play the show, pack up, go home. That's what he knew, and that's why the record turned out the way it did. Wild in the Streets took less than a day to make. The entire album was recorded and mixed in 21 hours. We may have recorded the album in a major label studio, but it sure didn't sound like it. That said, I don't know if we needed to be in the studio for much longer than that, because the weeks of practice leading up to it were so grueling. We played those songs over and over and over again in rehearsal until they were burned into our brains. When we got to AM Studios, we weren't standing around looking at each other, trying to figure out what to do. We were ready. People ask me what my favorite song is on this album or that album. I don't really pay attention to that. I don't have a lot of ego when it comes to songs and records. When you listen to your own stuff, you're always second guessing yourself. Why did we record it that way? Why didn't we bend a note here? Why was my vocal approach this way as opposed to that way? Why did we push this part down and bring that part up? Why am I even in a band? It's that way with every record. I go back and listen to it, and rather than enjoy the music, I'm thinking about what I could have done differently. I could have done this, I should have done that. I'm never completely satisfied. I try to teach each recording like a time capsule, a statement about a particular moment in time. That's all it is. I can't change the past, and I have no interest in living in it, so I don't spend a lot of time listening to my own stuff. A record is a representation of time, nothing less and nothing more. That's especially true of the cover photo for Wild in the Streets, which was taken in San Francisco. The night before the shoot, we announced from the stage at On Broadway, which was a little club above Mabuhay Gardens, that we were going to do a photo shoot for one of our new albums, and anyone who wanted to be in it was welcome to come. As it turned out, there was a big parade going on with the National Guard and the Army marching band and military guys in full regalia with their shiny helmets and fancy decorative rifles. To get the shot we wanted, we ended up crashing the parade and marching along behind the band. It looks like we're on a deserted street, but actually there were people everywhere. Punks were darting around, banging on the soldiers' helmets. I was yelling, "People, you're not supposed to be doing that." The soldiers showed a lot more restraint than we did. The photo features a mix of San Francisco, LA, and Orange County punks. The guys in the circle jerks are in black and white and everybody else in color. One of the most prominent is Mike Ness, whose band Social Distortion had played with us the night before. couple of our roadies are in the shot, and the rest of the people are San Francisco punkers. When Wild in the Streets came out, we were actually starting to get in the van and go out and play every bar or nightclub that would have us. We hit all the major cities, and we had some pretty memorable shows. Occasionally we play a VFW hall here, or a Moose Lodge there. I remember playing a show in the Deep South, where some of our fans actually broke into the glass display cases and pulled out the muskets and swords and started fighting them in the reception area. All sorts of knuckle-headed goofiness. But we were in the van, out there doing it, working our asses off. Our tour was really just a series of one-offs with long gaps in between. We weren't picky. We'd play anywhere. I remember driving 16 hours to play a bar out by an airport in Memphis. It was in the middle of a deserted parking lot next to a FedEx terminal. There was sand in the parking lot, and the interior of the bar had been redone to look like a beach scene because the Ventures had played the night before, and the place had been jam-packed with people. When we played, it cost $3 to get in, and 6 people were in attendance. It was disappointing, but mostly we were excited to have these opportunities to play. If the bar was 21 and over, and most of them were, we convinced them to open a couple of hours early, not serve booze, so the kids could come in. Of course, that meant playing 2 shows a night, which could get pretty grueling, but we didn't care. We were doing what we wanted to do. I'll read one more story. And then I got to hang out with Penelope Spheres the other day. I actually got to have a film conversation with her. We got into a conversation earlier about the prices of shows and how everything's gotten bigger and blown up out of proportion. I actually work on a festival that happens at the L.A. Coliseum called the FYF Fest. When I first started working on the FYF Fest, I got to choose, if there were 50 bands, I got to choose 25, 30 of them. So I played a role very early, and it was called the Fuck Yeah Fest. You know, and once you start moving into bigger locations and you have to go in front of the LA City Council and the L.A.P D, where you actually have to go in and this is our map, and this is what we're planning to do, and there's going to be 40,000 people here. This is the amount of security we're going to hire. Things start getting expensive, and it's like, hey, if you can't afford to go, then you just don't go. I enjoy actually doing a podcast where I had some reverse racism thrown in my face. And I kind of got a kick out of it. At first I was a bit bummed. Black gal from Oakland. And of course we would later learn that the people up in Oakland are like really hard-nosed, really fucking like industrial, don't fuck with us. That's why you'll have a band like Tower of Power, which is really fucking hard-nosed funk. No fucking around. Anyways, it was like, there's too many white people here. And the mix of bands this year, I was fucking blown away because I've never experienced, I've been very fortunate. I started a new band, and one of our rules was we're gonna go wherever anybody invites us to go, which means if we go to Europe for 3 weeks, we're playing festivals on the weekends. And when you're playing a festival and you're getting there's a good payday that allows you to play a few shows during the week where it's so inexpensive to get in that if you don't have 5 pounds, 10 pounds, you once again should just stay home. But anyways, now that I'm talking in circles, and I forgot where I started. Where did I start, Jordan?
I think you were.
We were arguing about how the scene blew up, and we went from playing small places like the Whiskey A Go-Go and the Roxy and the Starwood to moving into a place maybe the size of Perkins Palace, which is 1,200 people, and having 800, 900, 1,000, 1,200 people show up, and then all of a sudden playing downtown at the Olympic Auditorium in front of 4,000 or 5,000 people. And when you start moving up in the ranks, things start getting more expensive. It's not like you're playing in somebody's backyard or in their living room, because we did all of that and we loved all of that. It's just, I guess, called paying your dues. Like, okay. So now we get this reward of being able to play a place where we'll get enough money, we can pay for our rehearsal space and pay for the air in our tires and all of that fun stuff.
Pay for the tacos at book readings.
Yeah. It's an income tax write-off.
Dude, hey, all I know is it's free tacos, bro. Thank you, man.
I want everybody to be happy and enjoy some really tasty tacos. And instead of giving that money to the IRS so they can go bomb the fuck out of some place, I'd rather spend the money on the tacos.
Thank you, Keith.
So anyways, I started with Penelope Spheris. And I was sitting interviewing her for a live stream for the FYF Fest.
Of which I saw that. Very cool.
Yep. I had a blast. And one of the things that Penelope told me, she said, Keith, the reason I love you out of all of those people that we filmed, all of the people that were part of it, you were the only one that said thank you for putting us in the film. Because that really paid dividends for us, because maybe 2 months after it came out and they saw it on the East Coast, a gentleman who at the time was running Polish Solidarity in New York said, I also hold these meetings in a venue where you should come and play, Irving Plaza. And he had seen the movie, he'd seen the documentary, and said, you guys, I'll fly you out 2 nights before we were supposed to fly out. We were flying out to play, I believe, 5 shows. 2 nights before we were supposed to leave, our drummer takes it upon himself to track down the guy who stole his girlfriend's VW and proceed to get into a fight, a fist fight, where he breaks the knuckles on both hands. Now, this is a drummer. Drummers don't get to play drums with their hands wrapped or plastered or in a cast. It just doesn't work. I did see Arthur Killer Kane and the New York Dolls at the Whiskey A Go-Go, and Arthur Killer Kane had broke his hand. But you can play bass. You can figure it out. It's a little bit of an ouch, but nothing a little bit of heroin or some downers or some booze or something couldn't cure. Anyways, I was hanging out with Penelope. I love Penelope. She's fucking rocking, and she even brought up the fact that whenever we talk about the decline of Western civilization, it's like, well, why weren't the plugs included in it? Why weren't the screamers and the weirdos and the gears and
Alley cats?
And the alley cats, yes, and the controllers, because she was on a limited budget. She knew who she wanted to film. She knew what she wanted to do, and that's just the way it is. Anyways, this one's called The Decline of Western Civilization, and I hope I didn't give up any of the stuff that I'm getting ready to read in my spiel. And then as soon as I'm through, I will introduce Mr. Graham. Not too long after I left Black Flag and got the Circle Jerks going, Penelope Spheris got in touch with me about a project she was working on. I'd gotten to know her from hanging out at Slash headquarters. At the time, Penelope was married to Bob Biggs, who bought out the original owner of Slash Magazine and Slash Records. We weren't friends at the time, but we all knew all of the same people. I'm making a movie, she said, and I want to film Black Flag with you as the vocalist. I scratched my head and told her that probably wasn't going to happen. They had a new vocalist, and I had a new band. Besides, the vibe from Black Flag wasn't very good. They really disliked me. Penelope was persistent. She insisted that it had to go down that way for Black Flag to be in her movie. Penelope persuaded me into going to see Greg Ginn and Chuck Dukowski and running the scenario by them. Reluctantly, I did what she asked me to do. If we hadn't been through all of the things we've been through in Black Flag, the two of them probably would have gotten together and beaten me to a pulp. As it was, they laughed me out of the room. I went back to Penelope and told her the news. If you want Black Flag, you have to film them with Ron Reyes. I think she might have had a problem with Ron, but I don't know what the situation was. I just know that if she was going to put Black Flag in her movie, it was going to be without me. That movie, of course, was The Decline of Western Civilization. I was in the audience when Black Flag played in a tiny little practice space across the street from the mast, where the mast used to be. But I wasn't there to see Black Flag. I was there to see the Germs. Darby crashed, and I had become pretty good friends. In addition to saving my life, he'd given me my germs burn, and I had a feeling he would put on a pretty wild show for the cameras. He didn't disappoint. The show was pure chaos, everything you'd expect from a germ show, and exactly the way you'd want it. Penelope told me, Keith, I want you to be in the movie too. I want to film the Circle Jerks. I asked her who else she wanted and helped put a bill together. It was the Alice Bag Band, Fear, the Gears, the Gun Club, the Urinals, and the Circle Jerks at the Fleetwood in Redondo Beach down in King Harbor. I think it was $4 or $5 to get in. Not everybody on the bill made it into the movie. I think Penelope had a pretty good idea who she wanted in the Decline before the show even started. But I can't speak for her. I've heard rumors she filmed part of the Gun Club's performance. I know the Gears were extremely upset they weren't in the film. And I think that they've been added to the 3-disc set. Another thing that happened was the original Decline Part 1, the film footage that was being stored in a warehouse. The warehouse caught on fire and everything burnt. They had to redo all of the film on a computer, so that probably took them 3 or 4 years easily. To this day, there are people who want to know why bands like the Plebs, the Screamers, the Weirdos weren't involved in Penelope's project. But it was never supposed to be representative of the entire LA scene. It was just one person's vision. Thanks to Slash, Penelope had access to a great roster of bands, and I was honored to be a part of it, especially as the Circle Jerks were so new. The performances in The Decline, filmed at the Fleetwood, had a totally different South Bay vibe to them. It's definitely not a Hollywood show, although a lot of Hollywood punks came down to be in the movie. The allure of being immortalized on film was too great to resist. Each band played a set. There weren't multiple takes or anything like that. Everyone was allowed the same amount of time. The Circle Jerks were able to squeeze more songs into our set because our songs were so short. Most bands played 3 songs. We played 5 or 6. The kids in the audience knew they were being filmed. Each band read a disclaimer before their set, and the audience was told that the likeness would be used. If you don't like it, go hang out in the men's room. Consequently, the energy of the crowd was really intense. People were jumping around, getting up on stage, and diving into the crowd. You had all of these people doing wacky stuff they might not ordinarily do. When that created problems for the bouncers. They weren't used to punk shows, and it was confusing for them to have to sort through what was cool and what was uncool. They were tossing people out left and right. At one point during our performance, Greg Hudson chased down one of the bouncers on his side of the stage and tried to kick him, which I don't condone. He's lucky he didn't get pulled off the stage. It was a great show, but kind of a hectic scene. Nothing we weren't used to. This is where it kind of gets sad. On December 7th, 1980, in between filming of The Decline of Western Civilization and its release, Darby crashed, overdosed, and died. It was a strange situation because the poster for the movie had already been released, and it featured Darby lying prone on the stage in a kind of crucifixion pose. Darby was barely in the ground and he was already being made into a martyr. I'd been at that show and had seen him thrashing around on the stage, just Darby being Darby, but it was still really sad to see. The Circle Jerks had a gig at the Starwood a couple of days after he passed away, and it was a really heavy show. Normally our shows were celebratory and fun, not that night. The Jerks had broken up not long after the Decline shows. And Darby went to London for a while. When he came back, he had experienced ant music from Adam and the Ants and changed up his look, like a snake shedding his skin. And there was something sad about that too. The thing that made the Germs amazing was that they were so unpredictable. Darby had really bad stage fright and had to get wasted to perform. But he was becoming more cliche by the day. There were times when I thought the Germs didn't really exist as a band, but as a kind of performance art, an engine for generating chaos. I'd go see them, and maybe they'd get through a song and start up another one, but they seldom made it through the next one. When Darby came back from London, he started up the Darby Crash Band. Lucky actually played drums with him for a gig at the Starwood, but it didn't make the impact Darby was looking for and never really amounted to anything. Maybe he felt he'd been passed by. He was a very literary and intelligent, but not on a street level. His passion was from the head, not from the gut. Darby wasn't going to get in a van and go out on the road for 2 months. He didn't have the constitution to go out and play night after night. Maybe he realized that and decided to pull the plug. Darby's overdose was intentional. He carefully orchestrated his death, but it was upstage when John Lennon was shot and killed in New York the next day. I think Darby had a built-in self-destruct mechanism. He was a big fan of David Bowie. Maybe the song 5 Years, the opening track on the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, instilled this idea in Darby, that we only have so much time. Darby had his rise, but things changed after London. I think he knew his fall was coming. His heroin use was a sign that he was looking for a way out. Darby's death seemed to signal a shift, if not in the scene itself, then at least in the way it was portrayed in the media. The music was getting faster and louder, and the people who came out to see us were more physical and aggressive. They brought a level of athleticism to the shows, and even though that sometimes resulted in violence, it was never about hurting people. But when that started to change, the media pounced. The problem was that people from the outside looking in didn't understand what was going on. The parents and the teachers and the squares didn't know what they were looking at. When punk made the news, all they talked about was the violence. Suddenly punk was this violent, dangerous thing that was ruining teenagers' lives. There were newspaper articles and news stories and even primetime TV shows, many of which were written and produced in L.A. that associated punk with violence. There was no mention of the lyrics or the music or the message. The stories were all about how brutal the scene was and how punk rockers were Neanderthals who only went to shows to beat the crap out of each other. Here's the thing, it was getting more violent. All the attention the media gave to punk rock for the wrong reasons attracted the wrong kind of people to the scene. Jocks, meatheads, and military guys who didn't understand the concept of slam dancing, would come to the shows and throw themselves into the circle pit looking to hurt people. These people would come to our shows and call us names. They'd call us divos, like we were the ones who didn't belong there. It made no sense. First came the jocks, and then came the gangs. You had people from the beaches, people from the valley, people from up in Oxnard, people from East LA. All of a sudden, when the LA came to thump heads at the punk show, they were encountering a totally different crowd, faster, stronger, and a hell of a lot meaner. And some of these guys fought back. Of course, that meant more cops and more violence. We played a show at the Stardust Ballroom on Sunset Boulevard, and the bill was Black Flag, Fear, the Circle Jerks, China White, and the Minutemen. Toward the end of the night, after Black Flag had played, my friend Dirk Scratch, the bass player for Fear, got jumped by 3 knuckleheads. He ended up with 2 black eyes, a concussion, and fluid on the brain. The doctors had to poke a hole in the side of his skull to get the swelling down so he wouldn't end up with permanent brain damage. There wasn't a confrontation of any kind, of motive whatsoever. It was as random as it was senseless. This went counter to what the circle jerks were all about. Our MO was, let's party. If you're going to do what you're going to do,